In 1 year, Nigerians paid more money to kidnappers than their government spent on defense. Let me say that again. Between May 2023 and April 2024, Nigerian families paid 2.23 trillion naira in ransom to criminals. That same year, Nigeria's entire defense budget was 4.91 trillion naira. So for every naira the government spent trying to protect you, ordinary people were forced to pay half of that amount just to get their loved ones back alive. But here is what nobody's telling you. This isn't just crime anymore. It's an industry, a shadow economy, a parallel tax system that's quietly draining West Africa's wealth while the world talks about oil, trade deals, and Chinese investments. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how exactly this machine works, who is getting rich, and why this invisible tax costs Africa more than you think. Now, let's start with the data because it reveals something strange. 2 organizations tracked kidnappings in Nigeria and they got completely different numbers. SBM Intelligence, a Lagos-based research firm, documented 4,722 people kidnapped in 997 separate incidents between July 2024 and June 2025. They tracked 48 billion naira demanded in ransom, with 2.57 billion naira actually paid. And the National Bureau of Statistics, they said 2.23 million kidnapping incidents in roughly the same period. Now, that's not a rounding error. That's the difference between a city and a country. So, which number is true? Both, and that's the problem. Now, think about it. When was the last time you heard about the kidnapping of someone in your community or someone you know? Did they call the police? Did it make the news? Probably not. SBM tracked what got reported. Verified cases in media, police records. But the National Bureau of Statistics did household surveys, knocking on doors, asking, has anyone in this home been kidnapped in the last year? And what they found was terrifying. Most Nigerian families never contact authorities. They negotiate privately. They sell land, borrow from relatives, liquidate savings. They pay quietly and pray their people come back home alive. You see, the gap between 4,722 and 2.23 million isn't about bad data. It's about a country where kidnapping has become so normal that people don't even bother reporting it anymore. Now, most people think kidnappers are just desperate criminals hiding in forests, random chaos. That's not what the research shows. What we are looking at is a structured value chain. Think of it like any other business: procurement, operations, sales, logistics, finance. Now, here is how it works. Step 1. Local informants, sometimes the motorcycle taxi driver who took you home, sometimes the neighborhood kid who knows your routine. They scout targets. Who has money? Who travels alone? Which school has weak security? They get paid for information. Step 2. Operations. Foot soldiers execute the abduction. These are the young men with AK-47s you see in videos. They got captives in forest camps. Now, they are the lowest paid in the chain, maybe 50,000 naira to 100,000 naira per job. Step 3. Negotiation. mid-level commanders handle the ransom calls. They know psychology. They send proof of live videos. They negotiate amounts. They create urgency. An African news investigation described this as a financial echo space. Kidnappers have learned exactly how much pressure can turn families from "we can't pay" to "here is everything we have." Step 4. Collection and laundering. This is where it gets corporate. Ransom money doesn't just sit in a forest. It moves through banks, POS operations, bureau de change, informal transfer networks. Some kidnappers use cryptocurrencies now. White-collar professionals, people in suits sitting in Lagos and Abuja, are laundering, kidnapping money. They take a cut, they ask no questions. Step 5. Reinvestments. Profits buy more weapons, motorcycles, fuel, food. The cycle repeats. This isn't crime, this is a business model. But here is the question nobody's asking. If this system is generating billions of naira every year, and everyone from village informants to city bankers is making money, who else is benefiting? Well, we will come back to that. Now, let me show you where this is happening. Zamfara State alone recorded 1,123 abductions between July 2024 and June 2025. That's 3 people kidnapped every single day. Kaduna, 629 kidnappings. Katsina, 566. Niger State, hundreds more. Now, these states share something: vast, ungoverned forest spaces. The Dansado Forest in Zamfara, the forest spanning Kaduna, Katsina, and Niger. These aren't just hiding spots. There are territories, bandit camps with semi-permanent structures. Some have been there for years. And here is what makes this worse. Nigeria shares 1,500-kilometer border with Niger Republic. After Niger's military takeover in 2023, joint border patrols stopped. Relations collapsed. That border is now a highway for weapons trafficking. So you're a young man in Zamfara, no job, no school, no future, but you see bandits with motorcycles, weapons, cash. They control territory. They are feared. They are rich. Now, here is where economics gets dark. Between 2022 and 2025, Nigeria's currency, the naira, collapsed. Fuel subsidies were removed. Inflation exploded. The naira went from 400 naira to over 1,500 naira per dollar. So kidnappers adapted. In 2022, they demanded, let's say, 5 million naira for a hostage. That was worth about $12,000. By 2025, to maintain that same purchasing power, they now demand 15 million naira per hostage. The dollar value stayed the same, but the naira amount tripled. So families see ransom demands exploding. It used to be 2 million naira, now they want 10 million naira. But from the kidnappers' perspective, they are just keeping up with inflation. Now, this is what I mean by a shadow economy. It mirrors the formal economy. When the naira crashes, ransom prices adjust. When unemployment rises, recruitment increases. It's a parallel system running alongside the state, feeding off its failures. So we have established this as an industry. We have seen the geography. We understand the economics. But that's only half the story. Because in the last year, something changed. The line between crime and terrorism has completely dissolved. And when I show you where the ransom money is going, you will understand why this isn't just Nigeria's problem anymore. Between July 2024 and June 2025, Islamist terror groups received 33% of all documented ransom payments in Nigeria, 1/3. So when a family in Kaduna sells their house for 10 million naira to release their daughter, 3.3 million naira of that is going to fund jihadist operations. Boko Haram, Islamic State West Africa Province, the new Lakurawa group linked to Al-Qaeda. SBM intelligence documented cases where terror groups received over 100 million naira in single ransom payments. This is no longer banditry, it's hybrid warfare. Criminal gangs kidnap for profit. Jihad groups kidnap for ideology and funding, and increasingly they are collaborating. They share intelligence, they coordinate attacks, they split profits. In November 2025 alone, there were 4 major attacks in just 1 week. November 17, Kebbi State. November 19, Kwara State. 38 worshippers kidnapped during a church service. November 21, Niger State, 303 students taken from St. Mary's School. These weren't random, the coordination was too precise. And here is the part that should terrify policymakers across West Africa. These groups aren't just staying in Nigeria. We will get to the regional spillover in just a minute. But first, let me show you who is really winning and losing in this economy. Let's talk about the winners. 1. Bandit kingpins controlling territories in Zamfara, Kaduna, Katsina. They are making millions of naira monthly. They live better than many government officials. 2. Jihadist commanders using ransom money to buy weapons, recruit fighters, and expand operations into neighboring countries. 3. Security officers who tip off gangs. Politicians allegedly involved in arms deals, bankers laundering money. Intelligence reports from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger alleged in September 2025 that some Nigerian politicians and retired military officers are supplying weapons to bandit groups. Now, Nigeria hasn't confirmed this, but follow the logic. If bandits are getting military-grade weapons despite ongoing military operations, someone is supplying them. Now the losers. 1. Ordinary Nigerian families. 2.23 trillion naira in ransom payments is more than Kenya's entire annual budget. That's life savings gone. Children's education funds wiped out. Businesses collapsed. And here is the cruelest part. 32 victims were unalived after their families paid full ransoms. Payment guarantees nothing. 2. Farmers. 30 million Nigerians faced acute food insecurity in 2025, not because of drought, because farmers can't access their own land. In bandit control areas, you pay taxes to armed groups just to farm your own field. If you can't pay, you abandon the land. Nigeria, historically, West Africa's food basket is approaching mass hunger because of insecurity. 3. Students and teachers. As of September 2025, 589 schools closed due to insecurity. After November's attacks, that number exploded. Niger State closed all schools. The federal government shut down 41 unity schools.
As government to protect the lives and properties of our citizens. In this decision, the stakeholders today have decided to close all schools in Niger State.
The entire generation is losing education. 4. The Nigerian government itself. On the 2025 Global Terrorism Index, Nigeria ranks 6th in the world. Only Burkina Faso, Pakistan, Syria, Mali, and Niger rank higher. Nigeria sits above Afghanistan, above Israel. On the Global Peace Index, 147th out of 163 countries. These aren't developing country metrics. These are conflict zone indicators. Now, there is an African expression. A child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. Nigeria's youth unemployment is crushing. The fuel subsidy removed in 2023 doubled transportation cost overnight. Food prices exploded. The naira collapsed. A university graduate can't find work, but a bandit gang is hiring. 50,000 naira per operation, a motorcycle, protection, a sense of power. All that versus what? Selling phone credit at corners of the street at 500 naira per day. We call this crime. They call it survival. And until Nigeria creates legitimate economic alternatives, this recruitment pool will never run dry. That's the economics of desperation. So we have seen how the system works. We have seen who wins and who loses inside Nigeria. But here is the question that should concern every African watching this. What happens when this model spreads? Because it already is. Nigeria's kidnapping economy doesn't respect borders. In the Sahel, you have the jihadist groups funding themselves through gold smuggling and extortion. In the Gulf of Guinea, you have piracy costing billions in stolen oil and shipping insurance. In Nigeria, kidnapping. So these aren't separate problems, they are interconnected shadow economies. Weapons trafficked from Libya in 2011 are now in Nigerian forests. Ransom money from Nigerian kidnappings funds Sahelian jihadists. Porous borders enable all of that. And here is why this matters beyond Nigeria. 1. The African Continental Free Trade Area. We are trying to build the largest free trade zone in the world. But if overland trade routes through West Africa are kidnapping zones, how do we move goods? How do businesses operate? Insurance premiums skyrocket. Transportation costs triple. Investment dries up. 2. Cost of capital. When investors look at West Africa, they don't just see oil and demographics, they see risk. Nigeria's insecurity raises the risk premium for the entire region. That means African governments pay higher interest rates on loans. Projects become more expensive, development slows. So the hidden tax isn't just what Nigerian families pay in ransom. It's what all of Africa pays in higher borrowing cost because kidnapping makes our continent look unstable. 3. Sovereignty. As insecurity deepens, external powers offer security partnerships. France, the US, Russia, private military contractors. Some of these partnerships are necessary, but when African states can secure their own territory, we cede control. Foreign troops, foreign surveillance, foreign priorities. That's the trade-off. So here is what I keep coming back to. If Africa doesn't control these shadow economies, smuggling, kidnapping, someone else will. And when someone else controls your security, do you really control your future? So what can be done? I'm not going to give you slogans. Better governance, more accountability. We know all of that. Let me give you specific levers that research shows can actually shrink this economy. 1. Create a specialized financial intelligence unit for kidnapping ransom. Nigeria tracks terrorism financing. They need the same system for kidnapping. AI-assisted monitoring, freezing accounts, mapping networks. SBM intelligence security experts, everyone says the same thing. If you choke the money, you kill the business. Target the white-collar enablers, the bankers, the POS operators, the money launderers. Persecute them publicly. Change the risk-reward calculation. 2. Decentralize policing. Nigeria's constitution centralizes all police power at the federal level. That worked in 1999. It doesn't work now. State and community police, properly regulated with oversight, can gather local intelligence, patrol hotspots, and respond faster than federal forces stretched across 36 states. 3. Target the recruitment pool with real economics, not speeches. Youth unemployment is the feedstock for this industry. Launch targeted cash for work programs in Zamfara, Kaduna, Katsina, rural infrastructure, agricultural value chains. Make legitimate work more profitable than kidnapping. 4. Regional cooperation. ECOWAS already has frameworks for counter-terrorism. Expand them to cover kidnapping for ransom. Share intelligence on kingpins. Harmonize laws on asset seizure. Coordinate border cooperations between Nigeria, Niger, Benin, and Cameroon. Will this be easy? No, it won't. Reform means dismantling corruption networks that benefit from dysfunction. That's politically hard, but the alternative is clear: continued degradation and accelerated collapse. Now let me zoom out one more time. This video is about Nigeria's kidnapping economy, but the pattern is continental. Wherever states are weak, shadow economies emerge. Wherever legitimate opportunity is scarce, criminal enterprise fills the gap. Somalia in the 1990s had piracy. The Sahel has gold smuggling. Nigeria has kidnapping. The question for Africa in 2025 is this: do we let these shadow economies define us? Or do we invest in state capacity, rule of law, and economic inclusion fast enough to outcompete them? Because here is the truth: talent follows incentive. The same young men running kidnapping networks could be building tech startups, running logistic companies, managing firms. The same organizational skills that make kidnapping 2.23 trillion naira could build a 10 trillion naira legitimate economy. You see, Africa doesn't lack capacity. We lack systems that channel that capacity towards production instead of extraction. And every year we delay fixing those systems, the shadow economy grows stronger. But I believe we can turn this around. Not tomorrow, not with one speech or one policy, but systematically, regionally, with finance, intelligence, jobs, and political will. See, the resources exist, the talents exist. The question is whether the political leadership exists. Now, 253 children from St. Mary's School are still in captivity as I record this. Their locations are known. Forest camps don't move every day, yet the state cannot or will not secure their release. That's not a security gap, that's a system failure. So here is what I want you to think about. If a government can't protect 253 children at known locations, what else can't it protect? Your business, your investment, your future, and more importantly, what are you willing to do about it? Because this isn't just Nigeria's fight. It's not just West Africa's fight. Every time a shadow economy wins in one African country, it raises the cost of progress for all of us. And every time we build real systems, financial intelligence, accountable policing, legitimate opportunity, we prove that Africa can outcompete chaos. The choice is ours. If this analysis helped you see the economics beyond the headlines, share it. Tag someone who needs to understand how insecurity quietly taxes entire regions. And drop a comment. What's one solution you think could actually work? What part of this video surprised you most? I read every response. My name is Samuel Luis and you are watching Africa Today, and this is the Strategic Lens. Bye.